I'm the manager for information in the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. I'm sitting in this morning for Christina Sorrento, our chief. This is the DRC meeting for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. First item of the day is PLD Lot 44 and 4702 West Virginia Avenue. This meeting is for the applicant to ask any questions you may have about any of the comments that you received over the weekend. And our lead reviewer will start by telling everyone the minor or major concerns that we're going to start with. Just to let everyone know, this meeting is live streamed and it is recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Grace Bogdan, lead reviewer. So this one is the Speed to Market project. We've got the 3 applications, and I know that you all, because of the fast nature of these applications, have been working with the agencies already to sort of get ahead of these comments. I'm just going to outline some of the major ones just so we can set the stage for the conversation today. For DOT, I've sort of combined DOT and planning transportation comments, but we are needing the truck turning movements for the on-street loading space on West Virginia Avenue to show that the maneuverability works. And also currently the site distance is showing that it's partially blocked. So I think it might need to be shifted, or if that the turning movements can show that it will be safe. Additionally, for the mid-block crosswalk on West Virginia, we need additional context to show that there's going to be a receiving area across the street for 8001 Wisconsin. There's an inconsistent paving section for West Virginia Avenue based on your cross sections and what's shown in the FDA plan. I think one is showing 20 and one's showing 22. And then lastly, we're missing the loading management plan and justification for the paper alley abandonment. And then the SOJ needs more justification on the alley or the no need for alley dedication. For fire access, I know you've been working with Marie, but we need to show that there's 15 free and clear space along all of the exterior walls. For DPS, we need to make sure that it specifies compliance with Bethesda streetscape throughout, and if there's any deviation that needs to be called out specifically, and then just add all labels for the sidewalks showing ADA accessibility and width. For parks, there's a lot of parks information going on here, and I know that we're going to continue to be coordinating with them and probably going to need to set up some additional meetings to go over everything. That includes the easement for the fire access, the alley abandonment, parkland dedication, maintenance, and access to the townhouses. And then going into environmental, we're missing the noise analysis and soil volumes for the streetscape trees. And then for the mitigation trees, it's the FCP mitigation trees can be shown on the parkland on the Eastern Greenway, but for the removal of the tree that's within the parkland, that needs to show mitigation for FCP for forest conservation purposes and parkland mitigation. It's in addition to.
We need to see the agreement between parks and the applicant to see that they agree to remove that tree, because you're basically impacting a different property. So
yeah, I think we had some preliminary conversations with parks, and I think it would be part of the eventual parks permit, but I think we have a conceptual.
if you have a document or email, that would be.
Yeah, we can figure out how to best do it. I think in the past, we've had a condition that says we're approving it and that it'll be handled under the park construction permit. So that might be. But, and actually, I just got the confirmation from the urban forester that we're okay removing it, given proper mitigation. So.
And lastly, as you know, I think you've been coordinating with DHCA on the unit count to make sure that is consistent throughout, and as well as just for planning, there were several inconsistencies in the SOJ to get cleaned up, and then to update the no minimum parking requirement, and the recreation guidelines were a little.
Yeah, that was on the wrong rec plan got uploaded. It was for another project. There's no pool stuff there. Yeah, that'll get fixed. So we can meet the recreational guidelines. We just have to get the right points put into the plan.
That's it. So
Okay. On a couple things. So the mid-block crossing, we showed that just sort of as a conceptual idea because of comments that we received. But we don't really have any control. For one, DOT would have to approve it. And second, we don't have any control of the receiving end on the other side, since that's another applicant. So we're happy to show it as a future potential option by others. But I don't think we want to necessarily get held up because we don't have control over that decision. So what we are doing is that we're extending the sidewalk to Tilbury on the neighboring property. We're doing that off-site improvement. So there will be a connection. We think it makes sense that naturally people may walk in that mid-block location. And we're happy to do whatever we need to do to accommodate it, but we also have some time constraints for financing in our agreement with the county that we can't really get bogged down on an issue that we don't have control over. So I don't know that we can commit to showing it like as something that the applicant would do, but they're happy to, participate in future discussions, or if there's a way to accommodate, to not preclude it, I guess, would be our approach.
Yeah, I think the design allows for it to be implemented later. It's just biggest problem right now would be implementing the receiving end where there's, a house there and there's utility pole and narrow sidewalk.
Would it be a
There are a couple of issues, I think, number one is if there's gonna be a meat block crossing, it has to meet the warrant, so the pet counts. Okay, that's number one. Two is if we can't have receiving gap on the other side, that doesn't happen. There's nothing on the other side to receive it, and there's no sense of showing the gap on this side.
Yeah, that's fine with us. I think
We could, we'd be happy to like provide some form of an easement or something, if there's a way where we can allow for it in the future, but if we just don't know, the timing of the other project could be 5 years.
Yeah.
This project's moving much faster, so I don't think we'll know that answer.
well, it's all in the right of way. So I think, we wouldn't even need to do an easement. I think it could just be implemented if it's chosen later.
Yeah, I wonder if when 8001 comes in, if that would be the appropriate time for them to then, at right away permit, hook it up to here, because there would be a receiving area. I can check like that.
We talk about the loading, sorry, I'm like.
No, so it's perfect. We can talk about the load.
Say, the DOT controls the right of way, and I'm a little bit concerned about having the paving going out to the curb. And so I think we need to see that there's stopping sight distance. And the problem will be with loading, the loading truck might not fit in there well. It's, I think we talked about hard transitions. And we talked about you don't meet sight distance with that loading space there, right?
It does.
I thought the line of sight goes through the truck.
I think I'll have to go back and look at the exhibit, but I think only, and if we use it, the 25-mile-per-hour design speed, I think if we change the design speed to make it work, I'll have to go back and look, but pretty sure that there's at least one, if
We
not.
have to comply with the sight distance form. And if 25 mile per hour does not comply with the sight distance form, we're not using it.
Thought we talked about the idea we could field verify because we've observed that no one's driving 25 miles an hour on that street. That's just,
Well, what we'll do, I'll go back and look and see, because I know we reanalyzed it after we bumped the curb out, because we basically took away the parking lane there, the extra lane that's there today. So let me see, I don't have on top of my head where we are there. I thought we got it to work.
Yeah.
And we do have some things we're doing with Sam, you mentioned the choker requirements. We have to change the angle a little bit.
Right.
That helps a little bit too, I think.
Right. The whole, logic behind this is if trucks have too much effort getting in or getting out, the way you are showing it, nobody's gonna bother using it.
Sure.
Or they're not gonna go in fully. That's my concern, is like, they're gonna just stick out.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily have a problem with them sticking out. It's just I want it to show that you can see when you're coming out the garage.
we were gonna reach out to Billy. I tried to call you, Rebecca, but we can coordinate with, I guess, you, Sam and Billy, and just
Yeah,
go through the plans on
Yeah.
Teams. And
Billy, you don't need to include me, but I'm just,
We're just trying to keep it, as far west as possible, because nobody wants
Yeah,
it to
we
be in the
can't.
greenway, so.
we're not gonna shift it to the east. That doesn't work.
right, but if the sight distance doesn't work, then you can't keep it where it is.
We think it does work. I think maybe there might have been some misunderstanding with because Pat, we did this 3 months ago at our concept plan and we figured it out. And
I know, yeah, I understand that. I just don't recall exactly what we
I'll
landed on.
double check the measurements.
Yeah.
But and to Rebecca, to your point about the paving going out to the curb, at the mid block, we could certainly delete that little section of paving that goes out there. That would help alleviate the concern of, promoting a mid block crossing where there isn't one. That would help.
And I think you probably need to, if you want, it needs warrants, and then it has to meet stopping sight distance to see
for pedestrians? I guess they have to see the vehicles, basically.
Yeah, which again, we're not really trying to push it at this moment, so I think.
Just remove it.
Yeah, I would think just move it and then you do all those warrants when we know that. when they come in.
Yeah, so we got no clue when.
That little strip between the sidewalk and the curb. We're gonna take it out.
That's fine.
What's on the other side of the street? It's single family homes.
Right now.
It's a future development.
It's gonna be a future park and multifamily building.
Yeah, but their greenway, does their greenway line up with our?
Well,
greenway?
if we put conceptually where we were talking about that mid-block crossing, it would, in theory, line up with their, like, because we would be toward the eastern end of our section of Greenway, which would connect toward the western part of their section of Greenway. That was the idea, but again, we should just move it.
Yeah, I think
To
it's
not have
yeah.
any confusion.
Then on the paper alley that runs, I guess, what is it?
East-west.
West, yeah. That one, so there's a reason, so we're abandoning, and that's part of the coordination we'll have with Henry, and we reached out to Steve Smith about this. We're abandoning like our half, 5 feet of it. The portion that can be integrated into the future park space. But as you get further to the west where the development is, there's no connectivity to the park. And in order to meet the fire code, we're not abandoning a portion of it because we need that 10 feet. So that was why I think Katie or someone was like, why are they only abandoning part of it? It's because it would serve no purpose on a portion of it, and we need to meet, building code and fire
Well, it
code.
would not only serve no purpose, it should be abandoned there for the park system to connect. Because it's being abandoned where it exists between Chase Ave Urban Park and the Greenway connection. So
If there's a surface parking lot on the portion where we're not abandoning it, but it probably, unfortunately, doesn't look to be developing anytime soon, so. Think, and then, yeah, we've met with DHCA, we're gonna nail down the numbers. It's 53, like multifamily units. And then there's 6 live work units. So we're working with them, on that aspect of it, because we have a development agreement that sort of modifies what the standard requirements are. And then we understand the parking as well. So we'll explain it better, but essentially the idea is that like it's 125,000 square feet of gross floor area. These are, I think, like 70% of the units are going to be 3-bedroom and larger. So they're huge units. If it was a rental project, it would be like 150 units. So if you look at the parking from that perspective, like it's not any different than what you're seeing from a more typical rental project. It's just that the types of people that are going to live in these units, like the market demands close to 2 parking spaces per unit because they're so large. But we can explain that.
one part of that was, the county executive really wanted to see this for sale building to be able to deliver the for sale, deeply affordable MPDUs. And so, like Matt said, if we were to just do a regular rental building, like with 99 parking spaces to 150 units, it's a pretty typical ratio. It's just that because of the product type, it appears to be a high ratio, but for the size of it, it fits in line with what it would otherwise be. But people who are 3 or 4 bedroom units, like have 2 parking spaces. They would have.
I know we've talked about this a lot. It just wasn't in the submission. and so
Okay.
that's
We need to explain it better.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna I know we've got a lot on our plate, but we're gonna do coordination this week and early next week. And just so that we can keep things moving for our other commitments, try to like resubmit next week. And keep the process going, and we understand, the trajectory we're on, but we're gonna try to pick up some time if we can.
We respond to everything you had mentioned before. I wasn't writing it down. You brought up like a few things. Did we respond to all of them?
Most of it was just that we have the DOT coordination, DHCA, and DPS coordination, just these.
Yeah, that we met with
Fire.
Yeah, we met with
Fire.
Marie and we
Yeah.
got the easement worked out with Parks preliminarily and Yeah, so I think we've got it all.
Noise analysis coming soon.
What's up?
Noise analysis coming.
Noise analysis is underway. Yeah, actually, we've got the same group that prepared it for the smaller project and update it, so we'll get that filed. And we'll set, Henry, I guess we'll set something up to talk about the 4 or 5 components that would be incorporated in an easement.
Yeah, how to structure all of those different bits of
Because
things.
there's the maintenance part of it also.
Yeah, there's maintenance access stuff. There's the, yeah. Yeah, it probably is 4 or 5 things, but
And then
feels like we're working, making progress on those. And so just need to keep doing it.
The maintenance on the, like the promenade itself throughout the future park system could have varying responsibilities, is what my understanding, like some parts could be park, some could be property owner, just depends.
Yeah, I think particularly like with the stoops and the walkways here and how that kind of, how we set all of that up.
Make sure the maintenance plan, it's different from the forest conservation part and the parks, because the 3 mitigation trees that you're proposing, they will have to be put in a different maintenance plan.
Don't put them in the easement, you're saying.
No, maintenance plan,
You're talking about the,
mitigation trees, yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
put
so
Forest conservation.
well, there's gonna be a maintenance and management agreement for the mitigation trees for the project.
But make sure it's separate from forest conservation law and parks.
Yeah, so this part, I don't remember, does parks typically do that for tree plantings on park property? Do they do that like a 5-year management agreement or something similar?
Yeah. We'll just make sure we answer, but yeah, we'll have to delineate which, yeah.
I did have one thing to just remember.
Excuse me, Elsa has a comment. Elsa?
Well, I just wanted to raise something. I think we were having a conversation yesterday about this. And Henry, I can't recall if Parks was going to be, if Parks had provided their design comments, your design comments, or whether there were going to be some additional design comments forthcoming.
I think we're very close on stuff, but as part of talking about everything, if we've got any sort of follow-up stuff, we'll loop that into the meetings. But yeah, thank you also.
Trini and Steve Sattler have been working with Linda pretty closely, so I think design wise, we're pretty comfortable where we are, but we got to work out some of these maintenance and, function issues.
Yeah. Just double checking with Linda and Trini that they agree that we're all on top of everything there.
This is Maggie Gallagher with DHCA. Just a quick question. I know you all sent us something with 2 options for development, and through the plans that you've submitted, it was all 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units, but I think option A and what you had sent us had a 1-bedroom unit. So I just wanted to double check, are y'all are leaning towards option B, where it's all going to be 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units, correct?
Market rate units.
No, there's no 1 bed, where the 1 bedroom, I don't know if it, I know
From
why
the
it ended up
development
there.
agreement.
It stemmed from the general development agreement,
Gotcha.
county.
So we
That was,
basically the idea is to provide larger units than for the
Right.
affordable than what we agreed to with the county.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to double check on that. Thank you.
So reminded of 2 more important items to remind you of. The mandatory referral application.
Yes,
Uh,
we submitted yesterday.
Oh, you did submit? Okay, great. And then also we need the DPS confirmation on the height, similar to what happened with lot 25.
Yeah.
Look back at that email from Patricia. It was specific to lot 25. So
Yes, it was. That's right. We need to email her. Thank you.
I had one question, and maybe a Sam question, maybe Grace as well. I think there was a comment about the streetscape, the portion we're extending to Tilbury to make the connection, meeting the streetscape standards, I guess.
So if you wanted to get public benefit points for that, it would need to meet the streetscape standards, but it's not going to be able to do that because you have limited right of way to work within.
Yeah,
that.
my question was gonna be, I mean, we could use like the materials, but we only have so much width to work with since the limited right of way. So, do we just make it a concrete sidewalk, or is there a desire to see it be the streetscape brick pavers or?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was CBD limits ends at that area, correct?
Tilbury?
No, at the.
It ends at the end of the parking lot.
I don't think so, because it's all because her property, the neighboring property that we wish was part of this plan is zoned for CR.
Yeah, but it doesn't match up.
Not the PLD, but I think it's in the CBD, or it's in the sector plan.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know that it's in the maintenance area of them. So if it's not in the maintenance area, then it should be concrete. If it is, unless you want to maintain it, which I don't think you.
We're okay leaving it as concrete. I mean, we can take the points off. I just wanted to make sure that
I think it was mentioned specifically just for the public benefit point categories, and I'm happy to discuss with you guys better options. I know that it's tricky. You're okay with points, but like it's supposed to be from 4 categories, so I think you were just trying to hit extra categories, so.
Yeah, so we have to remove minimum parking, I guess, because now
Yeah.
nobody can get points for that in these CBDs because of the CTA.
I think you can still get, I think you keep it up at the 0.
The way the ZTA was written is super narrow. It basically says that they're exempt from minimums, so.
Yeah, we'll figure out the categories, but we've got plenty of points with
Yeah.
the park.
And I think if you correct the live work category, you could receive points there, so then you'd be hitting your 4 categories.
Thank you.
Schedule, did you want to go over it real quick? I mean, it is for I
Yeah.
have you set for the September 9th or September 5th planning board date. And it sounds like you guys want to resubmit before then, but
Yeah, we're gonna just, because this closer we can get, by this summer, the better off we will be with all these other stakeholders we have to engage with.
Yeah, we have a tricky situation where, within the general development agreement with the county and the timing of it all, and as part of facilitating all this in that transaction, obviously the 4702 piece was critical to bringing this all together. And so because it's dragged on with, and this has nothing to do with MNCPPC, it's a
It took us 6 years to deal with the county from the time we started before we got a development agreement and they carried the property that they're gonna dedicate.
Yeah, we had to carry the property for 6 years in order to facilitate the whole thing, and so we have a loan coming due that would put everything at risk if we're not approved and acquiring lot 44 as part of and so we have a very tight timetable there, which is why I think Matt had requested if there's any way whatsoever we can get accelerated to have a planning board date just prior to the August recess. I know that that's a big ask and ahead of when it should be. But our hope was if we can turn this all around within a week and everything looks clean and okay, that.
no, and we totally hear you. I think the issue is here, like, because it is the 3 applications and there's a lot of details that keep coming up and a lot of further coordination that's going to be necessary with parks and to get things forward. We're going to keep the planning board date in September. With the planning board date in September, agency letters are due July 22nd. And so with the agency letters and with our tentative, recommendation of approval with conditions, I think that's the best way we can move forward with this.
So in other we've had other projects in similar situations, and we've written letters from the department saying that, everything is on, when everything's sort of in order to move forward to get approved. We've submitted letters to financial institutions that they've accepted before. So if that's something that your lender might accept that has worked for other properties in the down county area in the past.
Anything you all can do to help would be great, because we have this loan maturity in August. So anything you could do to help would be greatly appreciated.
Just get a sketch plan approval that won't fulfill.
No, because you can't get the density until you get a site plan, so the lender's gonna say, well.
And we have as it exists in the general development agreement, what this is largely tied to is the closing on lot 44 and the closing condition precedent to the closing in the general development agreement with the county is the approval.
Site plan.
So the site plan. So that's the trigger here. And so
The general agreement with the county, though, doesn't expire before September. Okay.
No, we're
No,
good,
but-
we're moving good on
but
the county schedule.
right, but the loan is on 4702 on its own. And so the refinance will be into the combined property. And that doesn't happen until we close on lot 44, which doesn't happen until we have the site plan approval. So that's the tricky part here.
So maybe Grace can work with your team. Maybe we could, if there's a conversation to be had with the financial institution in the nearer term, just to say heads up, this is where we're going. Would you accept this other letter? I appreciate that you guys are trying to catch up and and pick up some time. And I think we appreciate that. I think we'll do our best to work with you. I think as Grace said, there are a lot of things outstanding and unresolved. But if there's a conversation to be had with the financial institution that could get you just a few more weeks or whatever, let's look into that.
Thank you. Thanks. So when would be our for September 5th, our final date of submission if we're gonna?
That would be July 2nd.
Okay, so we got a lot of time to get. That's what I know. But more than a week. Some will be over before you know it. Okay. Start coordinating or continue coordinating. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thanks.
afternoon. Manager for the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. This morning, I'm sitting in for Christina Sorrento, our chief. This is Tuesday, May 21, 2024 DRC meeting. This will be item number 2, Loman's Plaza. This meeting is for the applicant to make any comments and ask any questions about anything that they've received during the week. But first, our lead reviewer will point out any major concerns to discuss. Please note that this meeting is live streamed and it is recorded.
Morning, everyone. My name is Tamika Graham. I do want to say we do have a long list of things to address, but I also just want to make note that in our staff comments, we did have a number of complimentary things to say. So I just wanted to make sure those weren't overlooked. And, we're really excited this is back in so soon. I just wanted to start very quickly with the project schedule. Right off the bat, you'll need to submit an extension request because your planning board date falls in August during the recess. So if you could get that in, that would be helpful. Also, we'll start with the forest conservation plan. A little while ago, we made some shifts administratively, so now we have F plans. What you submitted covers phase 1, but we suggest that you will resubmit that for the whole site. And then as you come in with your future phases, you would just amend the F plan, or if you ever need to make changes, it's completely separate from preliminary and site. So that's one thing that we recommend. While we're on forest conservation, you are showing some impacts to varying size trees, so you do need to make that request to the planning board. We also have some requirements for planting in the stream buffer. It's really important. That's not being shown. If you're not going to plant it, then we need that justification statement about what the issues are with the planting. Some of the other major things we'll note too that I think a lot of the comments probably won't sound new because I think there are a lot of things that we'd already talked about during sketch plan. And so we're just kind of building on those discussions that we had previously or that we tabled into this time. One of the things, the big ticket items that we talked about is the realignment of the intersection of Randolph Road and Park Lawn Drive. And I don't know if you're all aware, but since then, MCDOT has undertaken a feasibility study for that intersection. And so they're going to be doing, well, they're already started. So they're doing some traffic analysis and also going to be doing some cost estimates. And they expect that study to wrap up at the end of September. So tied in with that extension request, we want to make sure that we have some time to see the recommendations and results of that study because it's obviously going to have a significant impact on your project. So that's one major update. You also need to, with the next submission, give us the justification statement for the private roads. There are a lot of things with transportation. I think when we have that follow-up meeting, that'll be one of the major topics. We have a number of comments that I think overlap with some of the issues that MCDOT has as well. Some with the alley spacing, we talked about that before. We still think that there's an opportunity to look at some ways to shift some of the alleyways or consolidate them. So we'd like to continue that conversation. We also had some notes about the dedication of Lauderdale Drive. We were just wondering why it wasn't shown as being dedicated within phase 1. And then we have a number of bike ped accommodations that we think can be enhanced. That ranges from making some changes to the roadway, the cross sections along Randolph Road, sidewalk on the south side of Macon, the protected bicycle intersections. There are a number of things within that category. Those are some of the highlights. For the site plan, for architecture, there are a number of things that are missing from the submission. The details that we'd like to look at, such as the floor plan and the materials palette, things like that, that we expect at site plan. Another thing that we like to take a look at is the high visibility sides. And we have some more notes about that. Read. Open space, I know that was another big ticket item that we talked about at sketch plan. There were a couple of changes that you made with the phase one, which resulted in what looked like a deduction in the open space calculation. So we just still need to make sure that we're meeting that condition where we're showing how it satisfies the minimum, at least across all of the phases. The common open space in phase one, we really appreciate the effort that you put into the design and all of the different features, which were really neat to bring that space to life and to activate it. One of the suggestions that we had is to try to create a better transition between the private and the public space. So possibly consolidating, which is showing as two, I have it up here, but where you're showing the two pathways, maybe making that one. That was one suggestion that we had. Some of the others, we also had some similar comments on other spaces within the development, just trying to create that transition so folks don't feel like they're just walking right out of their home straight into the public sidewalk. Recreation guidelines, that's required with the site plan. There were some minor things there. Very easy to address just with a submission of a second adequacy report where you're showing how the overall site would be addressed at full build out. And so that's just a secondary report that we would want to see on the plan. Public benefits, I'm not going to go into too many details there. I think it's just a follow up to what we talked about before and how the points need to be shown for the overall and then just clearly shown for each of the phases. And I certainly understand what you're showing, like say, for example, the transit points, you know, it's obviously the same in each phase, but some of the other phases, we just need to rearrange the figures in the tables so that it's a little bit clearer. Master plan conformance, we talked a lot, particularly at the planning board, about the condition for the contribution to major park or school site. But we also had the addition to that condition that talked about or an alternative where you would enhance the open space areas within the neighborhood green. And so neither one of those have been addressed. So, you know, we're just looking for more information from your team, you know, what exactly you had in mind to address that master plan requirement. And then the final thing is with the utilities. We appreciate you putting together that feasibility and cost estimate report that you gave us previously. We definitely acknowledge some of the conclusions that it talks about. But for us, it's really not the end of the conversation because we're still going to take it to the planning board. We're still going to make our case. There are a number of reasons why we're requesting the undergrounding of the utilities along Randolph Road. I also wanted to bring back to the forefront a conversation that we had after the last DRC meeting. And we had asked your team to take a look at some alternatives to undergrounding the utilities along your property frontage. We had asked you to take a look at potentially doing some off-site improvements for the undergrounding of the utility. So for example, the project to the east of the site has that really, really unfavorable condition with the bicycle, the bikeway and the utilities. And we asked if you could look at the possibility of doing something that would improve that because it would continue from the improvements that you're making along your frontage. So that was just an idea to try to address the undergrounding of utilities in an alternative way that would still benefit the community at large. Those are the highlights. We're happy again to just have that follow-up meeting and get into some of the finer grain details specifically with the transportation stuff. But I'll turn it over to other agencies and we're happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Other agencies gonna speak or shall we speak? Or
You can go ahead.
I'm leaving.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of it was discussed. Thank you guys again for your comments. Very detailed, all of you on there. Definitely very detailed through it. And so, I mean, I think some of the questions that we had yesterday when we got together as a team have already been discussed. Mentioning continuing discussion on some of these comments that we may have felt at sketch plan that were resolved, but I think the door was always left open to continue discussions from that sketch plan. So I think we do understand a lot of these, and it will involve follow-up meetings with transportation, definitely park and planning and DOT, I think, to resolve some of these issues. But at this, I mean, I wanted to kind of go, is it worthwhile to mention some of your stuff that we talked about, or?
yeah, I don't know. It does seem like there were some. What we have as the document that we submitted and what you're commenting on, especially for instance on gateway transitions. I think our landscape plan does show gateway transitions and maybe you all missed those. So we wanted to say, take a look at the application again, perhaps. The other thing about the elevations of the townhomes I believe that our application included a key of materials with call outs. All elevations were represented. And I think there was a comment that not all of it elevations were represented, but they are, including all side elevations. So I just wanted to redirect the team to look at those again.
Yeah, I can address that
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah, we should comment, right?
Yeah, so for the material, they were noted and all the elevation were presented, so I appreciate that. I saw that and I reviewed it all and told. One thing that we want you to take a look at it, it's the high visibility side elevations. I think you guys provided one example of side.
No, actually, all of the side elevations are represented on our application. And they represent and they're labeled underneath, they represent every elevation on the edge.
We were inviting you to look at like two versions of side elevations, because I think I also make the exhibit pointing at the side elevations that are visible into the public realm. So we
Yes.
want those side elevation to have more frustration, more durable material, so it would be
They
different.
do have a full brick side. All of the end elevations have a full brick side. So that's what I mean, is that perhaps the notes were not clear maybe, but all of those elevations are represented and they are a full brick wrap from the front, which is 3 stories of brick, wraps all the way 3 stories of brick to the side. And I guess when we share elevation, share plans, we can show you that the places where we can provide windows, we have provided windows, but where there is closets or bathrooms, shower sides or
Yeah,
something,
that's
there
what
are no windows there, obviously.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So
So,
maybe for the next us, like the side plan on those, so you are not differentiating on the side elevation.
they're all the same.
So then, like if it's going to.
Even on the interior ones, they're all the
Even
same.
the interior.
Yes.
Okay, so I can follow up by email regarding that to shorten the.
That'd be great.
Process back and forth, so we can talk about that. But then for the next submission, if you don't mind giving us the floor. Yeah, I appreciate that.
The other thing I wanted to clarify is that we do not have 2/2 units. And throughout the comments, there were references to 2/2. We have back-to-back townhouse.
So those units that are fronting Randolph Road, like the
Yeah.
first block, so those are gonna be the back.
There's a unit that faces the back and a unit that faces the front. And they are stacked next to one another with a common wall between them.
Yeah, but the ground floor kind of shows like 2 doors from Randolph.
Yes.
That's why we thought that is 2 units from Randolph.
They both have a front door on Randolph. Because you can't have a front door on the alley where the
That's
garage
what I-
doors are.
Floor plan will.
Yeah, we'll
Kind of
clarify.
like verify that. So you're saying like 2 doors from Randolph,
Yes.
but then there's a hallway, you go to the back side.
Well, they both have a little entry, like there's an entry vestibule. The plan will be clear.
Yeah,
Clear.
yeah,
There's
so
an entry vestibule, 2 entries, and then 1 set of stairs going to the second floor for 1 unit and 1 set of stairs going to the back to the unit above. And then those units are fairly
pretty much the same, except the front units have varying elevations, so that changes the front unit a
Yeah,
little bit.
based on like the elevation that you provided, like it looks like it's 2/2, so that's why I
Yeah.
called it 2/2, so that, so but I think.
But that's an
no
important,
plan-
yeah, no, it's an important distinction, I think, for fire, for instance, because it's not a superimposed unit. They are separate units. They have two front doors on the front. And so anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
so the back units basically face another unit across the alley with no vegetation in between.
Yes.
So we did have a comment about adding vegetation alleys, and maybe that could help, to address I think the point that Amy is raising.
I think that will be a challenge with the utilities. You see, the 5 foot,
In one of the exhibit, I show an example of Park Potomac, how they added even in those little like the strip between the driveways, like how they try to like have ornamental trees or like bushes and stuff like that to soften the added of so. And please take a look at this.
Why don't we pick this up in
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like details.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clarification, but yes, this is a bigger discussion.
Yeah.
With plans in hand, et
Yeah,
cetera.
so you and I can like email. and
Yeah.
clarify that.
To make it, I'm sorry, this is the first we've heard about the transportation study for the redo of the intersection there, that is actually underway. We've provided, I believe, an alternative layout for when that connection, if it ever happens, is happening. We certainly wouldn't want to slow down the application for phase one until September or potentially later. I just want to clarify, that's not what you're suggesting.
So I think the alternative you provided was only a part of the sketch plan. I believe that we'd also asked for it to be a part of, this current submission. We don't want to hold up your application for that study, but like I said, you're going to have to pick up your hearing in September anyway.
Right.
So it just makes sense for us to just wait for the results of the study, because from our perspective, we're going to be using that to likely shape additional conditions potentially for your phase one site plan thinking ahead. But that all depends on where those recommendations are headed. I think that we will know probably before September some of the preliminary results and probably preliminary recommendations before that final report is out. But we would feel a little bit more
That
comfortable.
timing could get very tricky for us, because obviously we're intent on starting phase one, which would not be affected by any change to the intersection. So I'm not sure how that all flows.
No, I just wanted a follow-up question. Did I understand when you're talking about continuing the bike improvements, for instance, across, if you get the intersection realigned, you're continuing those bike improvements across there, but that property is not our property. So are you saying that that would be a condition, that adding those on to, if you did that, you're adding that into our to-do list?
Are you talking about the utility comment or the bicycle
No,
improvements?
you said your comment, I think, was there are various conditions, if that goes through, that we would be adding to your
Well,
application.
we might. I mean, I don't know at this point. I don't know what the.
I would expect if DOT is gonna rebuild that intersection, they'll build the sidewalks and all of
I
that.
hope so.
That'd be part of their project.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we just want to make sure that the timing syncs up and we don't miss any duties. So, like I said, if we can hear back sooner than that, then feel comfortable.
I think the challenge, picking up on what Andy said, is that even if they come out in September with a preliminary idea, it's gonna be years before they implement any improvements there. And we need to be able to go forward with phase one. It's, very highly desirable missing middle housing that we wanna get on the ground soon. So we can talk about that though, but that, on one hand, it's good news that they're moving forward with it. It's something that should be done. On the other hand, we don't want it to hold us on.
Absolutely. Yeah. But usually,
Yeah.
a significant multi-phase project.
Oh, great. Thank you.
It's the first phase to, to tee up whatever we need to require for the remainder of the project. So.
What else did you want to?
I think we did everything.
With respect to the underground utilities, we know that issue is out there. I think in sketch plan staff had said if feasible, and the planning board has said, look at it, not mandatory. I'll be with you that based on the utility study that we presented to you guys, it's infeasible for this project to do that. And so, I don't want to be, belligerent, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So I just want to put that on the table. We can talk about it. We can explain why further, but I think that would be a non-starter based on the huge additional cost it would place on each one of these missing middle housing units. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, we try not to look at it as an all or nothing kind of request, which is why we have suggested the alternative. So if you're open to looking at that, we would.
If we were to do something alternative, you were talking about the North Quarter project there. I think we have an obligation under LATR to provide and a GIP for, a certain amount of offsite funding or something. That would be, and if we do anything physical, I would assume that would be a credit against that imposition.
You're not required to do LATR?
What's that?
You're not required to do LATR because you are under the.
Because we're under the TRIS. That's correct. Yeah. Thank you. Even better. Yeah. Yeah.
Pay for that fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, we need to have follow-up meetings, obviously, certainly something with transportation, that there are a number of transportation comments in there that we need to get around. And I guess it's both agencies on that. I think that probably is a separate meeting than the planning meeting to talk about, open space and unit design and landscaping and all that sort of thing. So could we today find some times for those two meetings?
Yes, we'll set up meetings for you next week. But I'll get with Tamika and we'll figure out who needs to be invited to that meeting. And yes, we will set up a follow-up meeting for you. You'll get an email.
Two follow-ups.
Transportation.
Yeah,
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, Richard and DOT, we'll have.
They don't care whether we build them out of brick or whatever, but
We'll figure out who needs to be in each one and
Yes.
then we'll send you an email.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, okay. No,
That's really
we
it.
appreciate all the positive comments that were in the staff report. We think it's a great project, really addressing a housing, gap. We can get it built. Actually, you mentioned at the outset, we're seeking an extension. That's always a tough issue. It's for August. We'd like to extend it to the first week of September. That's not realistic, of course. But on the other hand, we don't want it in October. So my proposal would be that we set it extend it to September, and it does mean all of us, we both have to do our work before then. Is that acceptable to you?
With a 30-day
Right.
administrative.
Yeah. Okay, great. Bye.
Thank you.
Andy, anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll just move on to the meetings.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone.
380. implemented and tied into this connection. And so these frontage improvements will necessitate a revised storm drain analysis, and also on the environmental front, an expanded LOD to accommodate the new disturbance boundary. And if that goes above an acre, then it will go from an exemption to an FCP and NRI. So also one other piece to flag is that stormwater management issued a denial letter in January. So we'll need to see a revised stormwater management plan as well. And then from a design perspective, we'd like to try to see these houses get pulled up to the street to interact better with the neighboring properties here in the neighborhood. So those are the high level comments, and I can turn it over to the applicant.
Yes, good morning. This is Mike Razavi with Rastic Associates, civil engineer for the project. Thank you for your comments and your time on the DRC meeting. I'll start with your last statement about pulling the houses forward. Because of stormwater management regulations and because of the topography of the site necessitating and soil conditions necessitating the need for the bioretention design and for stormwater management to be in the front, and clearance required from the stormwater management to the house to be a minimum of 15 feet. The location of the houses kind of fall where they shown at the moment. And beyond that, with the dedication and the PUE, they may have to even go back a little further to accommodate the dedication and 10-foot PUE. So that's the first issue. The second issue is that in terms of transportation, we understand the dedication, the 5-foot dedication on our side to make it 30 feet from the center line. Other than curb and gutter, there was some reference to a 21-foot pavement. Other than adding sidewalk and curb and gutter, can we assume that the existing pavement section, which is existing, sufficient?
Is Deepak on the call? I think that was his.
Deepak's not on the call. What was the question?
The question is that there was some reference to the 21-foot pavement on Maple View Drive. Right now, the pavement, I believe, is 18 or 19 feet. We understand the dedication and we understand the addition of curb and gutter and sidewalk. Are we to provide additional paving on the frontage of this property, or is that some future improvement when the county perhaps improves the road?
Marie, does that meet your requirements?
I'm so sorry. What were the specifics?
So he said the pavement's only 18 feet wide out there.
Was not aware of that. That would require improvement on the frontage and an operational bay. Mike, did we not talk about this?
From a fire and rescues, I'm talking generally based on comments from the DRC comments that we received from transportation.
Right, and I'm still trying to ask if it meets Marie's requirements, then no, we would not ask for you to widen it out. But if it doesn't,
I see.
Yeah, if it's only 18 feet wide there, I would be looking for widening along your frontage to co-locate with your hydrant.
Okay, we'll measure the pavement again just to make sure, but that was a question we had.
Yeah, that's got to be coordinated. I guess there was no dimension on the plan that I saw because I did not catch that. Thank you, Rebecca.
And then my other question is, we do have an approved exemption for the NRIFST and tree save plan. That plan matches the current LOD shown on the administrative plan. The goal was to preserve one of the trees that are existing, and that's why the LOD didn't expand all the way to the property line on, I guess, on the southeast side, which would be lot 1, south of lot 1. So I had a question about that. Do the addition of curb and gutter and sidewalk have to go across the entire frontage, which may affect that particular tree?
I think that, yes,
You have to, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so the revision for the NRI exemption, is that due to the fact that the LOD may change? Is that the reason for that?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so if the LOD somehow doesn't change, then there's no need for a new NRI, correct?
Correct.
Well, the LOD, I think, will need to change given the frontage improvements that will be in the right of way on the properties to the south to tie into the sidewalk.
Okay, we'll look at that, and I guess we'll coordinate with environmental planning reviewer once we move forward. That's all the questions I had.
I see Matt McCoskey, you have your hand up?
Good morning, everyone. This is zoning specialist Matt Mikowski. I wanted to just make a comment. There was one note that I added to the plan. It was a little bit late. I hope you saw it in regards to the established building line. Zoning will be looking for some sort of table or reference chart just to see how you determine the front building setback. Earlier in the meeting, you had mentioned about pulling the houses forward. I just want to make sure that the front setback is taken into consideration with respect to the formulation for the established building line. 300 feet in each direction, taking the average of the existing houses and on that frontage when 2 or more houses apply to this condition. If you have any additional questions on established building line, I'll put my name and contact information in the chat.
Matt, Matt, if I may follow up on your comment. Question is this: I thought established buildings lines are required when you're doing infill subdivision, not necessarily during subdivision. Not when you're going through a new subdivision.
That's not my understanding on established building line. It applies to the condition when you have the 2 or more houses. In this case, it says, yes, there are some exceptions for residential infill compatibility for a couple of the zones, including the R60 zone, but it has to be a plat recorded before 1978.
And that's when it would be an infill development, right?
That's when there would be an exception for the established building line, not applying to this particular case.
Okay, and that's something that's usually we deal with at building permit. Is there something you want to see during the subdivision process for this issue?
No, sir, you're correct. It is required at the time of building permit application in order for local zoning to approve off on your setbacks. Be aware that that's going to be a condition at the time of permit application, and the purpose of this meeting is to just bring it to your attention so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, is that it?
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Generally, we don't require
Good morning.
My name is Angela Brown. I'm the Information Manager for the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. I'm sitting in this morning for Christina Sorrento, our Chief. This is a DRC meeting for Tuesday, May 21, 2024. Item number 4, as named residents. This meeting is for the applicant to ask questions about any comments that you received last week. And we will start with the lead reviewer, who will point out any major concerns to be discussed. Please note that this meeting is live streamed and recorded.
Morning, going to County Planning Manager. Viewer for Hasni residents. This is a just under 1 acre unplatted parcel at 144 Spencerville Road. This application is for one single family home on one lot. It is zone RE1 and is also in the upper paved branch overlay zone. Also a special protection area, which caps the development at 8% imperviousness. You are proposing 7.54. Now, the big ticket items in our review so far in our comments are the requirement for an impervious surface plan to be added, a new forest conservation plan exemption, an accurate development standard to be labeled on the plan, and the fact that an electric service cannot be provided through a sand mound setback or sand mound itself. Now, once again, this is for you to review comments and ask questions. I'll turn to the applicant.
No, so those comments are pretty clear. Definitely understood what needs to be done there. Taking a look at those comments. So no questions from my end.
Since we have all the agencies here and reviewers, would you like to talk about a little bit about frontage improvements? Just to make sure that everybody's clear and on the same page as far as what we're recommending.
Sure, we can definitely do that. Which sheet do you have the frontage comments on? I'm taking a look at the plan review comment report. What page are we referencing?
I have our transportation planner here, as well as DOT, and they can briefly summarize their comments and recommendations. And then you can ask any questions that you may have.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like it's going to be reference number 50 for county transportation.
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I think that sounds right.
Okay.
Sure. Nick Fifi of County Transportation. My comments were pretty closely in line with the comments on the concept plan, just to show the cross sections for Spencerville Road and Beach Lane as required in the Complete Streets Design Guideline, but also noting that per 4933D, this lot is exempt from frontage improvements because of the size and the area that it's in, the rural GIP zone. Did you have questions about that, or did MCDOT want to follow up on that, since we were, kind of covering the same area?
Is Deepak, are you on?
Deepak's not on. Is it Deepak's project?
Yes.
What was his comment? Sorry.
We were in agreement on this aspect of trying to see if I can pull up anything.
Yeah, we coordinated our comments with you, MCDOT,
Okay.
so we should be in agreement.
Okay.
But we wanted to give the applicant an opportunity to ask questions about any of these comments with relating to frontage improvements.
So I guess just to be clear, so I'm reviewing, taking a look at the plan review, and I definitely understand what you all are saying, but where is it referenced in the comment section, so that I can, clearly identify and mark that up. Is it reference 50? I think you were talking about, 49 3-D, and it does mention some of that in there, but it doesn't clearly explain, how you all laid it out just now.
Yeah, looks like reference 50 was Deepak's, so yeah, that was MCDOT's. I'm trying to find 65 was area transportation. So 65 was me. But it's more or less mirroring what that comment was saying, including the exemption language from the code.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a note of that. And you said it was reference 65?
65, that's correct.
So my sheet only goes up to reference 50. I guess my report was generated on 5/15/24. Are we looking at the same report?
17. 5/17/24.
Okay, I do not have that report.
That's sent by Neil Brownstein. Was that it?
Yes.
The one that we're referencing was sent by Neil Brownstein. Is that the one that you received as well? I believe it was sent on Friday.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have that one that was sent on Friday. Dara, I guess if you can, it may have been sent to you. Can you go ahead and just forward me a copy of that report? I only have, 50 references on the report I'm looking at.
Okay, Gregory, yeah, absolutely. I believe I did, but I will just make sure maybe I'll need to resend it. Thank you.
Do you have any questions about the electric service going through the property?
Nope, that one was pretty clear as well. No comments there.
Yeah, this is Doug Johnson, the environmental planner. I have a question for staff here in the room. Nick, are you saying that because of the frontage exemption, there's nothing that's going to be required to be constructed?
Correct. On the north side of Spencerville Road, 198. Yeah, no frontage improvements on that.
What about Beach Lane?
Same.
Okay, good.
So I think we're all pretty clear there that there's no improvements needed on either side.
The reason that Doug is asking this question is because any improvements that would be built as part of those frontages would count towards the impervious cap. So even if things change during the course of this review, which they're not going to, that's something that you would have to take into account is your impervious calculations would have to reflect all frontage improvements. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, definitely does. Yeah.
Then we are asking you to show those facilities on the drawings to make sure that they fit in with a cross section. So the drawings will show it. We'll have to label on the drawings that you're not going to be building those or constructing those, but we're still asking you to show on the drawings, essentially to make sure that they can fit in when and if in the future anybody or the county or the CIP project will install those for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty clear as well.
So staff will work with you on the notation for the plans to make it very clear for anybody that looks at these drawings that you're not building those, but yet we have to show them on the drawings. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
Like I said, so I'm looking at a document from the 15th. Based on unresolved comments that I have, I don't have any grave concerns immediately or any other questions. But I guess while we're on the call, Dara, I don't know if you had an opportunity to send me the latest report so I can see what items, I guess 51 to 65 look like.
Sure.
And if you have any questions about those items, please refer back to me. Email, call, see my contact. I can give you glance as well. But while you're here also, one comment that is made that you won't be able to see since it's past 50 is that we also want the driveway apron to be minimized a little bit and have the driveway aligned to the side of the house as well. And something that we can talk about later. When you have.
Okay, and I guess who was talking? Who's me?
Going as the lead reviewer.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Hugo, the lead reviewer.
The lead reviewer, got you.
Are there any agencies on the call or in the room here that want to highlight any comments that you might have since we still have a few minutes?
Before you do that, sir, can you give me your email address and I will send you the comments right now?
It's a little long, but we could go ahead and give it a try. It's going to be Gdillett, Gdillett @dillettengineering.com.
I think you can put that in the chat. It'll be easier for her to copy from there.
Gotcha.
I just sent it. Can you let me know if you receive it, please?
Yeah, will do.
So if everybody's done, I just have a very simple question. This is Mr. Hasnan. I'm the one who owns the property, and I wanted to thank you for everyone for conducting this meeting and helping me out to get this process going. Just as a simple question, I mean, I've been struggling to have this going, permit ready since the bank is on my nerve. I already passed the 12-month timeline. So this is actually, the preliminary plan has been done. We're walking towards the final approval plan, or just stepwise, I wanted to know, like, what are the more steps left?
So after today, your engineer is going to take time out to address the comments on the plan and then resubmit it for another review.
Okay.
If we find them all satisfactory, then we will
Okay.
continue to the planning board.
If everything goes satisfactory, then we're good to go, right?
Not good to go.
Okay.
Still have to eventually go to the planning board and get your approvals, and then also have this platted as well. The final step will be a record plat being drafted and approved as well.
Okay. All right.
So the next step is to address the comments that you received today at the DRC meeting from all the agencies and reviewers. And then the sooner that you can send that back to us with all the comments addressed, we can then start finalizing the staff report and preparing for the planning board. And that will be, I see Doug wants to add something. So that will be the process in a nutshell. Right now the ball is on your court to address comments and then send the drawings back to us addressing all the comments so that we can prepare for the planning board hearing. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, this is Doug Johnson. Keep in mind, you're going to have to make a brand new application for a new forest conservation exemption request.
Right.
Separate application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one question. I did get the plan review comments. So I guess on item 66, is there not an approved application already?
Is
For
Andrew
the water quality plan?
Is Andrew Kohler here? Or from Steadman?
Mark Etheridge.
Hi, I'm here. This is Andrew Kohler with Water Resources. Yeah, so you guys need to obtain an approved water quality plan. I know you guys submitted one. I believe it was denied last year, April. So work with me to get that approved. You're right there. It's very close.
And
Okay.
Andrew, I have a question. If you remember last year, you were working with Jagnish, and we determined that we submit the fee for some other plan, and we found out we need to do the water quality plan instead of, I think it was sediment control or something. I have to find out which one was that.
Do you think
Correct.
that fee can be adjusted towards this plan, or, because I remember, I don't know if it was you or somebody else has said to him that maybe we can try to see if we can, use the same fee since that plan does not actually pertain to our purpose.
Yeah, that's correct. We switched it over. You guys have the right application done. We just need to get it across the finish line. Like I said, from my memory, we're really close to it.
Okay, so all right, that's fine.
I also actually, I have one question. The building permit set was filed under a sediment control plan by the old engineer. And he filed it, I believe, under the wrong category. How do we proceed forward after this? Like when we are going to submit the building permit set, do we need to create a new application? Or is there any way in the system that change the application type since something was already started?
Yeah, so you guys will need to, after the water quality plan and you get through the planning board and all that, like Ugo was saying, you'll need to submit an engineered sediment control permit for the build. The fees that were paid previously, I think were converted over for the water quality plan review. But we could definitely work on that later as we need to figure out what fees are outstanding and whatnot. But yeah, the fees that were already paid, I believe, transferred over to water quality plan, and then there'll be a future plan that you need to do for the design.
I think, Andrew, Dara's question is basically the previous engineer is no longer working with us. And first of all, we need to remove his name. So the emails will come to either Dara or myself. And secondly, he has created the portal online, but he has been submitting the documents under the wrong document folder structure or a wrong place. So how can we rectify this to make sure that we, upload the document in a proper section? So do I need to contact someone to remove the access and
contact me? I sent my email in the chat. Contact me directly. I need to work with some people internally at DPS to get the admin stuff squared away and remove like that. So we can work offline on that. That's easy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. We'll send you an email. Is that was your question, Dara, right? I remember you also asked me for the same thing.
Yes. I don't want any, confusion after we fight for this. Like, we don't want any delay. That's why we're trying to do everything correct from the beginning.
Right. Okay.
And I'd be happy to meet with you directly about our stuff on how that plays into it, so we can set that up later. But yeah, I hear you.
Thank you.
You have any more questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns from me. Definitely, like I said, if I do have any additional questions, after, making the changes, I'll reach out to specific reviewers attached in the report.
Is there anything other agencies want to say before the meeting ends, just to reiterate or feel especially strong about anything? Good. Well, thank you.
We're good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Bye.